Hello, BookTube. I had bookish adventures today, despite the fact that for most of the morning it was almost whiteout conditions, sloppy blizzarding here in Boston on the 1st of April. Uh, I think I might have mentioned in an earlier video that today was the Boston Public Library book sale, and I went with Chris Rhodes from the Rhodes vlog. He was able to join me, but unfortunately Giselle was not because of this work thing that crops up all over the place here on BookTube. Uh, and it was absolutely miserable weather outside. In the short walk for me to get from Hyde Cottage to the subway to go to the library, I actually considered turning back. That's how bad it was. I was bent forward, pushing the umbrella in front of a slop storm of sleet and ice and slush. But we got there, and it was fun, and I found a bunch of stuff. I was very glad that I had not only Chris to carry it, but also the car to transport it around. And that's going to make this video even stranger than usual because I'm not going to show you that many books. And the reason why is because most of the stuff that I found is for you. So I can't show it on camera and spoil the surprise. So I have three books that I picked for myself, for my own library, that I wanted to show you and as also recommend to you. The first one is from 1960. It's a genuine oddity. It's one of those very strange, very big, bagatelle works of nonfiction that I couldn't do without, but that I don't know how to classify. It's Elias Canetti's Crowds and Power. In this lovely trade paperback that I have seen many times. In fact, I saw it at the bookstore you knew when it first came out. This was reissued in I don't know, sometime in the 80s, I think. But it's Canetti. I don't really know what it's about. It's not about crowds and power. That's a small fraction of what it's about. He studies alienation and power and survivalism and guilt and collective. The crowds and power is part of it. The collective suspension of thought. It's a weird and unclassifiable book, and I love it. Absolutely love it. I think it's one of the great works of sustained nonfiction in the modern era. It and Black Lamb and Grey Falcon and a couple of other things. So I was happy to find it since I don't have a copy. Usually when I have a copy and somebody asks for a really engrossing, big, season consuming work of nonfiction, I send them this, so I never have a copy. But now I do, for now anyway. And then the next two are religious themed. The first one is Wide as the Waters by Benson Bobrick, who did a wonderful book on the American Revolution called Devil in the Whirlwind. And this is about the history of the early history of English language translations of the Bible. The original trailblazing translators, some of whom were driven into hiding or killed, and then the team of scholars that produced the King James Version. And Bobrick does a great job. It's just a fantastic. There are many books on that subject, and this is the best one. So I was very happy to find it because I got a copy back when this came out. When was this? This was 2001. Yes, I got a copy at the bookstore and read it and loved it, and it disappeared, and that was 20 years ago, so I'm due for a reread. And then the last thing I want to show you today on the Boston Public Library book sale day. This is a small fraction of what I got, but almost all the rest of it is going to be ending up in your mailboxes, so I don't want to spoil it. But the next one is by Peter Hebblethwaite, and it's a book that I've seen and I've had, but I've never kept. It's his big biography of Pope John Paul XXIII, who was the greatest pope of them all, and an amazing figure, an amazing figure on the world stage. The first example after World War II of what kinds of things a pope could do on the world stage. The prototypical example before Pope John Paul, Pope John Paul II is a great pope that the rest of you will know. The younger of you might remember him, and in the present day, those of you who are, in your teens or early 20s, I don't know who you think of. Maybe Pope Francis. You might think of him as a great pope, but neither of those figures prepares you for the true breadth and quotability of my Pope, of Pope John the 23rd. So I was happy to find this, because this is a biography that I haven't read this in I don't know how long, probably 30 years. So I'll be very happy to reread it. And it looks like, just by random chance, there are a lot of religious-themed things coming my way down the pike. There's Alec Ryrie's great new book on Protestants. There's Francis Fitzgerald's great new book on evangelicals in American history, and there are a bunch of others coming. So I don't fight the karma of book sales. And those are the three that I wanted to show you today. There's Pope John the 23rd. There's Wide as the Waters, about the history of the English Bible, and there's Crowds and Power by Elias Canetti. And I wanted to show you those because although the day that I had with Chris was it had a lot of things that could technically be called disappointments. Not the Boston Public Library book sale, but of course the agony of getting there and the agony of leaving, the unbelievable weather surrounding that. And then he and I went to some thrift shops in Boston and came away completely empty-handed, and that never happens to me. That was just a bad karma day for that. Then we came back here to Hyde Cottage, and that was a fun visit, but it was capped off by something that was horrifying in its own way for me, which is that April 1st is the day when I move all of my review copies up a shelf. So I had to deal with the gigantic overlap of March of books that I haven't written about. I had to move them all off and then move all the April books up and then move everything else up. And it just served to remind me that I really need to work harder at getting these books the attention they deserve. So I will be mulling over that quite a bit tonight. but anyway, many more videos to come. I just wanted to show you this book sale and invite all of you next time. I mean, this is April, so April, May, so June. The first weekend in June is the next Boston Public Library book sale. Any of you who can be here for it, I'd be happy to meet you. So, and I think, pretty sure that Chris and Giselle will be there, unless this work thing gets in the way. Anyway, I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.